Welcome to the Secure Connections podcast, brought to you by IOTSA, the Internet of Things Security Services Association. I'm Brian Sherman, Content Director for IOTSA and host of our weekly series of podcasts. Today, my special guest is a well-known executive and very good friend of the channel, Nancy Hammervik, Executive Vice President of Industry Relations at CompTIA. Welcome back to the Secure Connections podcast, Nancy.
Thanks so much, Brian. Really good to see you, and see everyone out there.
It's always good to virtually see people, but I still can't wait to see them in person.
I know.
We all missed CompTIA ChannelCon this year, and even though we saw it virtually, it was great. But looking forward to actually, seeing people, and maybe we'll be able to get
There was some upside. Our reach was much greater. We've had more than 20,000 now view ChannelCon and engage with ChannelCon. But nothing replaces that face-to-face contact and the networking. And whoever figures out how to marry a virtual events platform with real connections and networking is going to win the day.
Exactly. Yeah, there's just that one element still missing, and we love the digital world, but it's not quite as personal. So let me check in too. How is life in your part of New York amidst the pandemic?
Yeah, thanks for asking. I'm actually on Long Island, and by the end of March, early April, we were the epicenter, where we had more cases here than the entire country. So it was scary, and we were in lockdown. But I'm really proud of New York. I think for the most part, everybody's really been following precaution and protocol, and we're down to less than 1% of the population infected. But it's tough to live with all the regulations sometimes. Long Island has slowly started to open up restaurants for outdoor dining. I don't know what's going to happen, like when we start to get, actually the temperature dropped significantly last night, and not quite warm enough to sit outside. I was just sharing with my husband, it's so sad to see some of your favorite restaurants closing one by one. Yeah. And our favorite hamburger wings joint, a great place called Dirty Burger, that won all of Long Island's best hamburgers, best wings, closed down permanently last week. And so when you hear things like that, that's very sobering. My son had an opportunity to work in the city for a day. Sometimes he works for a glazier. So he was sending me some pictures and some reports from Manhattan, and it's really a ghost town. There is nobody on the street. Nothing is open there. We have not reopened restaurants and all, so it's been really tough for folks in the city. And much of the population is moving out. They're heading out upstate or to the suburbs. And it's interesting what's happening to real estate there as well. Lots of folks are changing their lifestyle from the city and out of the city. So I think we'll see the effects of this for a long time. But New Yorkers are resilient. And I've been through a lot of situations here in New York that somehow we come out better and stronger for it.
Yeah. No, I think there's going to be a lot of dynamic changes from this, not just cities, even the small towns. In the small town I live in, you see businesses closing, but also some new ones coming in too. It's been interesting. I think it's kind of like after a wildfire slowly things will start to sprout up, and people are learning to take advantage of what can be an opportunity.
Yeah,
in the current 100%. Situation. So, and it'd be interesting to see what happens with MSPs too. I know we're always, you're the same as me. We're listening to what people are running into, and for the most part, MSPs seem to be doing extremely well. Some of the verticals like restaurants, not so much, but they're trying to diversify and change. But so we're 6 months into the pandemic. Maybe, I hate to say this, almost a little more, I think now, the actual pandemic.
Yeah.
And the changes that have, as you mentioned, have come to the business community have been tremendous, not in a good way necessarily. What's the current state of the channel based on your conversations and research that you're seeing at CompTIA?
Yeah, so we've been regularly polling our members. We've been having a lot of virtual events and community meetings with our members, and for the most part, things are really good. It's kind of hard to say that when other people are struggling, but to your point, if an MSP was prepared, there was a lot of opportunity for them. And I've been saying for a while now that this pandemic has been technology's time to shine. and even the technology providers time to shine. So if they were prepared to respond, some weren't. Some were still a little bit too focused on the infrastructure and reselling product, and some might have been too heavily invested in a certain vertical market that got hit, like hospitality. But those that had a good breadth of a customer base and had started to migrate more towards off-prem, all in the cloud, solution selling, did very well. And as you know, I've been in the channel a really long time. It's hard for me to look back on how long this career has been, but 30 plus years. And I have watched the solution provider migrate from being a product reseller to that trusted advisor. And I really think now, especially in SMB, they turn to their provider to be a business consultant and, you know, not only give them advice, but strategies on how to manage and respond to the pandemic. So our research has shown that there was immediate opportunity in moving everybody to a remote world and helping them with all of the tools and platforms to do that, all the collaboration tools, the communication tools, like we were talking about with Zoom, and opportunity with the infrastructure too. There was an opportunity to scale to make sure that the environment could sustain the virtual and remote work, right? And so upgrading some networks and infrastructures, and security was already becoming probably the most critical concern for the industry and for the solution provider. And then moving off-prem, the opportunity to provide security solutions has been huge. So most of our MSP members and our partner members are finding themselves busier than ever, just trying to keep up with the demand. And it'll be interesting. I think that there's going to be long-term opportunity from this, Brian. Like you mentioned, so many of these smaller businesses are closing, and the sad thing is they probably won't be able to reopen, but somebody else is going to come in and fill that storefront or fill that small business, and new restaurants will be opening, and new service places. And I think there's going to be a tremendous opportunity for folks to be setting up new businesses. And so I think, you know, the MSPs that are going to win the day are really going to continue to be these trusted business consultants for their partners. Mm-hmm. Keep their eye on the future. Every day we go through this, it's a day closer to post-pandemic. And when we get to post-pandemic, I really do believe there's going to be more opportunity than ever. You know, when you think about the hospitality industry that's been decimated, when we can travel again, how we all are going to want to, you know, fly or, you know, go on a vacation, you know, at a hotel or get on a cruise line or whatever it might be. There's going to be a lot of pent-up demand. And I think there's going to be tremendous opportunity that follows this as well. So thankfully, you know, for the most part, I feel that, you know, most of the solution providers are doing well out there. Mm-hmm. I feel like the pandemic has accelerated either an opportunity or a challenge. You know, if you were ready for the challenge, it just moved you faster into the opportunity. But if you were kind of sitting there not keeping up with the times, unfortunately, you know, the challenge, it accelerated maybe even your exit out of the industry because you just couldn't respond to it.
Right. And I know a lot that, you know, had been pushing the cloud, Microsoft 365, Google, all of the, you know, cloud infrastructure. They're like, hey, it's amazing. It works. You know, our clients are like, wow, thank you for pushing us along this spectrum. And then the others are saying the pandemic pushed them the rest of the way along the spectrum. That
100%. We were just talking about that internally. You know, there came a point where we thought that cloud wasn't really sexy anymore. It wasn't that shiny new penny. It became, you know, we were saying, well, it's ubiquitous. Everybody's doing cloud computing now. But we hadn't gone all the way. Folks were responding, you know, maybe specifically on email communications or, you know, remote virtual opportunities. But we had not completely moved off-prem into the cloud and all of the SaaS solutions, right? And it's all about solutions. And exactly. All of a sudden, cloud is kind of sexy again. It's okay to talk about cloud, you know, that we were not finished there. And I feel like now we're doubling down on leveraging the cloud to work and live. You know, it's even permeating our personal lives. So I agree with you 100%. Cloud's back.
Yeah. And it's interesting. You talk about new opportunities like productivity tools. It's like whoever talked about productivity tools before. Now it's like, hey, my clients all want this and it's a huge business opportunity. And VoIP, if they haven't converted over to VoIP and unified communications before, it's very easy to transition, and we're seeing a lot of that work going on right now
We've
too.
been writing a lot of articles and blogs and sharing case studies from our members that this pandemic has absolutely accelerated the digitalization of our work world, 100%. And a lot of people were just getting by and it was fine. And we were also just too busy to, kind of make the changes we needed to make. But between the pandemic putting pressures on our business where we had to respond to stay competitive, to stay efficient and all of that, we've also had some more time to think about what we're doing. Even though we're busier than ever, we're not flying as much, we're not going to events as much, we're not as distracted as we were by so many things. And I feel so many businesses are really looking at their budgets, their priorities, their strategies, and fine-tuning them. And this has given a moment of pause for us to make some adjustments that had probably been necessary for a while, but we were just too busy and we were getting by. And now I think we've had an opportunity to address them.
Well, that's a good point. I know the pandemic's forcing the channel to rethink many of the normal activities, as you were talking about, including live events, sales, training sessions, everything we did with people that right now we're being told don't do that unless you have a mask and 6 feet apart, which is hard to do. How is CompTIA altering its plans to meet current channel needs like virtual? I know you mentioned virtual events. What are you doing to try to enable that?
So if you recall, like just the timing of it, our annual Communities and Councils Forum happens the second week in March. And we, I feel like this kind of came on us like a tsunami, like a slow roll, and all of a sudden it was on top of us. But we had to make a decision right at the start of the pandemic before things even really started shutting down, to go virtual with CCF. And fortunately, CompTIA had just invested in a state-of-the-art studio at headquarters. We've been leveraging that a lot. We have a very strong team that was very capable of doing virtual events, and we just pivoted everything to virtual events. And the first few months were like, wow, this is pretty awesome. The upside of it was we were engaging with a lot of people we hadn't engaged with before, folks that maybe hadn't been able to travel to an event, maybe it was more accessible to them now. And like I was saying, with ChannelCon and CCF that usually has 300-400 attendees, was in the thousands. We never had that many people where we had an opportunity to showcase our communities and council. So for a while, I think some folks were thinking we may never go back to the whole, live event thing again like we did, and virtual can work. But I think about 2 months ago, we all started feeling some Zoom fatigue and realizing, we do need to get back to that face-to-face. So I think we will do more virtual post-pandemic, maybe a little bit more hybrid, but we're really going to celebrate those live events. But a lot of what we do is peer-to-peer collaboration, networking. We have, more than 25 communities and councils globally that rely on, those connections and meeting it all. And we've been doing virtual meetings and we've been doing virtual happy hours. And I know a lot of people have come up with a lot of creative ideas, and kind of depends on the dynamic of the community and the personalities and all. Some go really well.
Yeah.
Some folks are just kind of sitting there looking at each other. So we've been perfecting our facilitation skills. We've been trying to get creative in how we're engaging, and everything has been virtual. I've been looking at a screen 8 to 10 hours a day, or engaging, with members virtually. And we're all trying to make the best of it, I would say. Yeah.
Now, the CompTIA events team, I've had witnessed it over the last several years, is focused on the digital, but I think that the demand for digital, obviously, you had the infrastructure in place, much like IOTA, we've, developed as a digital foundation, but it's nice to see everything come together, much like the cloud is the, remote meeting space. When you have something built, you have a good team behind it. It's amazing how well it can be done. But yeah, changing the mannerisms is hard doing a happy hour virtually. I was a little skeptical at first, but we have a couple that we engage in, and yeah, it's fun with you get the right people on, and it's hard getting them off at the end of the hour.
It's so true. We ended each day at ChannelCon 3 days with a wind down happy hour, kind of BYOB or bring your own drink, and they were highly interactive and engaged, and a lot of them, were a lot of fun. So yeah, like I said, we're all making the best of it.
Great. So cybersecurity, you mentioned at the beginning too, is with the cloud, other things. Cybersecurity is a huge opportunity right now. It continues to gain steam as a revenue source and a differentiator for MSPs in particular now as we're going, virtual, remote. There's co-managed IT opportunities. There's just the sky's the limit in many cases, especially with so many adopting the distributed workforce model. What's CompTIA doing to help the channel respond to that rising demand and shifting demand right now?
Yeah, so cybersecurity is probably one of the top 3 issues or dynamics in the industry that we're focused on: cybersecurity, workforce, and emerging technology solutions. We are investing a lot in cybersecurity education for our members in the industry, education that MSPs can pass on to their SMBs. Probably the greatest investment we've made and what we're working the hardest on is the CompTIA ISAO that we have launched or relaunched. Our good friends at ConnectWise had started it up towards the end of last year, and then quickly realized that an ISAO, information sharing organization, analysis organization, probably was best suited to sit in a trade association like CompTIA that is vendor neutral, is focused on education. We can kind of bring all the bells and whistles around the ISAO too in the peer-to-peer networking. We've launched a forum alongside of it, education, events, and building this trusted community that's working together. I just did a podcast with Rory Sanchez, and he was saying that security is like a team sport, and we're all part of it. And that's really how we're building the ISAO. So we've relaunched the ISAO as the CompTIA ISAO. TrueStar is our platform for threat intelligence and information, and we're sharing that on a real-time basis. It is an opportunity that you can add to your CompTIA membership, very nominal, just $500 a year, to have some incredible access to threat intelligence, and not only from TrueStar, who's been doing it for the IT ISAC, and that was like more for the enterprise in the technology industry. But we have a member, Darkcubed, that has a threat intelligence platform that they have built from 700 anonymous MSPs. So really sharing, what's happening, really based on what your stack is and your line card, what's going to hit you on different products, and giving those alerts, giving the prescriptive response to it, and then asking that community to share with others so that we can all be on the front lines and start to manage it. We've had a long history in standards and best practices. We actually launched a trust mark with NIST standards. I can't believe it. I think it was almost 8 years ago. We were way ahead of our time. And a lot of solution providers looked at that trust mark and the framework like, I am never going to complete this or achieve this. But they were using it more as a roadmap of what they had to start to build into their business. We are bringing that back. We never retired the trust mark, and many of our members have earned it. But we have a real focus now with our security community. If you're a member of the CompTIA security community, we want you to set a good example, be a good role model, map to best standards and best practices, achieve that trust mark. We're partnering with a significant insurance company to offer our members discounted cybersecurity insurance too, and make sure that they're protected, because it's becoming more of a concern. We've seen some legislation happening at the state level where MSPs are going to be held liable. They need to register in the state, and they're liable for their government contracts or, customers' breaches and all that. So we are all over it, from research to education, to the trust mark, to the standards. We want to make sure, the truth of the matter is, Brian, we are expecting the solution provider base to secure the SMB and they're not quite up to where they need to be themselves. So we're starting, with the MSPs and the partners and making sure that they're adhering to best practices, that they have the education and tools that they need, and then helping them to pass that on down. Again, this needed to happen. The pandemic accelerated it because there are even more bad actors taking advantage of the fact that everybody's on personal devices, working from home, VPNs out all over the place, exposed and all. And it's critical. If we are going to be in a virtual remote working world, we have to wrap the security solution around it. So yeah, lots
Makes perfect sense.
of initiatives there.
Yeah. Two quick questions from that, Nancy, because you have so many great things going on. The first off, on the ISAO, which is an information sharing and analysis organization.
Right.
You mentioned the alerts. Can you give me any more depth on how do MSPs not only participate, but what do they receive? Do they get emails back? Is it a technology solution?
Yeah, so a couple things. We have built a forum that sits alongside of it. So you will have a profile on that forum. And we are hoping, we have over 800 members of the ISAO right now. And we're hoping it's part of their daily routine where they're keeping that forum open. And this is where their own peers can be sharing real-time threats and incidents that they can respond to. But TrueStar has in their platform email alerts that will let you know when something has hit in a specific market or clients that might be on a specific platform. As we're collecting new members to the ISAO, we're going to start to collect, profiling information and demographics and understand what's in their stack, right? So some platforms may not be appropriate or specific to you, and some may be. So we are hoping, MJ Shore, who you know well, who has been on CompTIA's board of directors for a while and is now the executive director of the ISAO, he's working very hard to start getting automated. We really want to get to automation of both threats and the prescriptive response that can happen. So we're in the early stages of it, but right now it's via email and on the forum, and we're really also pretty reliant on the MSP to share.
Very good. I'll make sure we reach out to MJ too, because I want to have him on to
that would be
go
wonderful.
You provided excellent depth, but yeah, I know MJ will have a lot to share about how MSPs can get involved.
He's our resident security expert for sure.
Yeah,
he's
a great guy.
We've gotten very active in another thing that we're doing to engage with people is we've built a new YouTube channel, CompTIA's Communities and Councils channel on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And we are launching, it's really been a lot of fun, almost like television series and episodes. And MJ is launching one that you will see very soon in the next couple of weeks. I think he's got 2 episodes in the can it's called Shoring Up Security with MJ Shore.
Nice play on words with MJ.
Yeah, it's fun. And so he's going to be doing a 6-episode series and very prescriptive advice for the MSP and talking to some of our partners that are supporting the ISAO.
Very cool. And I know on the CompTIA Security Trustmark Plus, IOTA, we've been a big advocate of that because several of your members that have gone through that process are members of IOTA. And, those that have it are probably your biggest advocates out there. So we're looking forward to, helping you promote that again this year and beyond too. So yeah, keep us in tune as new things go on that front, because it's huge when it comes to the standards that are built, especially on NIST. I've spent a lot of time looking at the program and talking to those that have been through it, and it is extremely worthwhile. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, great. Yeah, that'll be good.
So one of the other things that IOTA has partnered with CompTIA on right now is our 2020 Cyber Scholarship Program. So we have 3 aspiring tech professionals will receive a CompTIA A+ certification scholarship on October 6th, each valued at more than $1,000, which is a nice, significant investment. Members of the MSP community can submit nominations on IOTA website through September 28th. So with that, Nancy, I want to ask, how valuable are these types of accreditation to IT professionals, especially right now? It doesn't really matter, I guess, that we're in a pandemic, but I'm seeing some opportunities, I think, for those that are trained and have gone through this.
Yeah, validating skills is just critical, and going through the discipline of ensuring that you do know the best practices, you do know the responses, validating those skills and being able to badge yourself and share with your customers and your partners the accomplishments that you have are critical. We've been saying for a long time, technology is driving every industry. But more than ever through the pandemic, we are reliant on the technology professional. We're putting our businesses in their hands, and we're putting our strategies in their hands, and being able to validate your skills, show the commitment you've made to learning your craft. It's a skill, right? And working with licensed or certified professionals, if you will, is so important. We're learning, more and more that a lot of times, folks in the MSP industry become accidental businessmen, right?
Sure.
Or women, and they're hanging a shingle that, touts that they can do all this, and they're looking to capture as much opportunity in business as they can, and that's great. But many times they oversell themselves and can't really back up, the services that they're offering. And that reflects badly on the whole MSP industry.
Right.
We've been talking to a few MSPs that are not so comfortable going out to market anymore as an MSP because people have been burned that they really didn't have the skill or the security acumen or whatever it might be to support and protect their business. So working with, certified and credentialed candidates is key. I had mentioned earlier, workforce is so important to CompTIA right now. We are heavily invested in the technology workforce, specifically from a diversity and inclusion point of view as well. Like, not only are we dealing with a pandemic, but we've been dealing with social uprising. And finally, again, the world has stood still long enough that they can listen and understand and absorb what's really going on out there. And we have a huge opportunity to address issues of racial inequality and unconscious bias and diversity. So we're working very hard on the workforce D&I aspect, but it's not just folks in the industry that should be accrediting themselves, but there is a huge opportunity for the general population to enter our market. And, right now there's millions unemployed because of the pandemic, lots of displaced workers. We're working very closely. CompTIA has won many state funding grants to get some of their unemployed back employed, and we are training them and getting them tested on CompTIA certifications and helping them enter our workforce. And we've had an issue, we're up to just about 1 million open positions in the US alone in tech.
I believe it.
Huge amount of opportunity. And, here's another thing that I think is being accelerated. I think that the higher education, colleges, universities, that academic world has been ready for disruption for some time. And I think that this pandemic is accelerating that. And just earlier this month, Inc. magazine ran an article that it's not about degrees anymore, it's about certifications. And you can actually train, get skilled, certified in a month's timing, in a year's timing, for a fraction of the investment that you might pay for college, and be employable and ready to work in an industry that has a lot of jobs. So we're really, focused on pushing the training opportunity, the certification opportunity. We're in the throes of actually launching an accredited online academy. It'll be a 10-month program. I'm very excited. I'm going to be working on that as well. And we will be embracing not only, adults looking to change careers and those that have been displaced from their jobs, but offering an alternative to high school students. College is not an answer for everybody.
True.
This one size fits all. And as a mother of a 22-year-old son, I understand very closely what it's like trying to find yourself at that age from 16 to 21, and college is not the answer for everybody. And there's huge opportunity in the tech industry to learn a skill and get certified and go out to market with that certification. So we're all about it. And I'm very excited to be partnering with IELTS on this, that you are offering this to 3 lucky candidates. Any way that we can continue to support their journey along tech or into tech, Soft skills is very important too. We have a lot of training with that. And then even job placement. I want to stay close to these three candidates so that we can help them be successful.
That's fantastic. And I know that, I mentioned co-managed IT before. I've talked to a number of MSPs just in the last week that are expanding, trying to work with larger companies that they haven't before because of all of the disruption going on. Many of the larger companies aren't capable of supporting 1,000 employees in different locations, and people are, if they're not coming back to work, they're allowing them to live basically anywhere. So that's kind of a disruptor in the channel too. And we're seeing a lot of MSPs trying to find good qualified technicians and others to support different areas as they have these companies going wider. So
Yeah.
it's a huge opportunity, but you have the people and the skills.
Yeah, I want to make 2 points on that. One, you are 100% right. For the first time, we're seeing scale in the channel.
Yeah.
We're solving very specific solutions at location. Scale is the opportunity now, right? Where we can do things on a much bigger level, shoring up go back to that shoring, but building out the infrastructure that can support all the virtual work. And one of the biggest challenges, especially for the smaller solution provider practice in MSP, is attracting talent and finding talent. Well, it's so interesting now that I think we will forever be in a remote working virtual world. And talent is now available to you anywhere. I mean, you could be living in New York and hire somebody that's in Ohio, and we've proven that works. So you don't have to just be looking in your backyard anymore for talent. We know that we can equip people, and you have a much broader base to go out and look for folk. But there's for a while, it was hard to find talent because somebody that either was certified or pursuing a technology career would want to work at Facebook or Amazon and Google, and that's great. But there's just as much excitement happening at the small MSP local level now as they are keeping the lights on for businesses and being reactive to challenges and providing solutions. And I encourage MSPs, technology is a skill that can be taught. We've proven it over and over again with our IT Ready program, where we are taking folks off the unemployment lines, out of incarceration, out of shelters, no experience with technology at all. 10 weeks, getting them trained and tested on A+, getting them into help desk. And if they have the right attitude and initiative, you can go off on a great career with that, right? And maybe even starting at 50, 60,000. So be willing to invest in somebody and hire somebody who has the interest, the good intent, the inclination, and wants to be taught, and train these folks and continue to train them. And you can build a great team, teaching and training skills.
Yeah. If someone has the desire and the basic abilities, those are the core strengths. You can build around that. And I think a lot of MSPs understand that too, is finding good quality people to grow with. So we've covered a lot of territory so far in the podcast, Nancy. What are some of the other ways that MSPs can engage with CompTIA today?
Oh, thanks so much. So first and foremost, go to CompTIA.org and take a look at our communities, especially. They are free to join. We have communities in managed services and emerging technologies. We have a diversity and inclusion community, security community. We say all the time, when you opt in, just like ISAO, when you opt in, it's up to you to, really engage, like joining a gym. You're going to, join and make that commitment, but you have to go. You're going to get as much out of it as you put into it. But we are a great group. We're surrounded by wonderful people. You will very much be welcomed. So first and foremost, join a community, and then go to the website. We have so much content. It's grouped by resource hubs where you can learn a lot about AI, drones, blockchain, et cetera. And all our research, industry insight, case studies will be there. It's a river of information for the individual, and just spend some time, mark in your calendar to spend 15 minutes on CompTIA.org and absorb some information. And then we encourage you to join. I'll share here, as a partner of IOTSA, you can get $100 off your membership of CompTIA. So
very nice.
Yep. So you can contact myself or Brian, and we'll help to set you up with that. It is just $250 a year then, so less than 25. And we have actually found through the pandemic that our membership has increased, our retention has increased almost 20 points. People want to be in this together, and you don't have to go it alone. So CompTIA really is a network that you can tap into where you can get advice from peers, you can get direction from peers, you can learn lessons from peers, we all share. So I just can't say enough how much it means and how important it is right now to kind of find your tribe and belong to your network of people and go through this with other people, and we'll get through it together.
That sounds great. Now, I got this mindset of a CompTIA gym now in my mind,
Yes.
pumping up your IT skills, right? Is that what,
I like it, Brian.
we'll work the marketing out.
Maybe that's a new YouTube series for us.
There you go. Yeah, we have the CompTIA
we
gym.
can have a lot of fun with that. I tell you, another thing is I think we're all having an opportunity to be a little bit more creative, right?
Yeah.
Like just sitting in place and being creative.
We have to be, or we go crazy.
I know.
It's part of it. So Nancy, it's been great chatting with you. Any final thoughts before we sign off today?
Oh, thanks so much, Brian. No, I just want to say thanks to everybody that was listening, and I wish you all well and stay safe. And, I have something on my Facebook page that the comeback is always greater than the setback. So it's coming. We are going to get post-pandemic, and be prepared for all the great opportunity that will come, and look for the silver linings every day. I mean, something good always comes out of something bad, right? If we learn from it and, we make that effort to see the silver lining. So if you look for them, they're there.
Excellent advice. So on behalf of the IOTSA team, I'd like to thank Nancy Hammervik of CompTIA for joining me today on the Secure Connections podcast, and for all our team does to support the IT community as well. We're happy to partner with CompTIA. Stop back next Wednesday for another new episode, and be sure to check out our channel cybersecurity resources at iotsa.com. Have a safe and secure day, and thanks for joining us.